Hi there. I used to think that everybody's brains worked the same way. When I was in seventh grade, I had a teacher who, when we were taking tests and we would have our little folders set up between us so that way we wouldn't cheat off of one another, I remember she said that you can look up for inspiration, down in desperation, but you can't look side to side or I will kick you out without hesitation. And I just remember thinking when she said that, well, of course I'm going to look up while I'm thinking. Like that's where my chalkboard is. Where else am I supposed to look while I'm thinking? And it took me a really long time to realize that my brain does not operate like anybody else's. And to be fair, nobody else's brain operates like yours either, right? But the only way that I can describe it is if you've ever been watching certain like sci-fi type of movies or shows, they have like almost like a 3D hologram computer where like you can just like have your hand up in the air. I always want to move this, but I'm holding the mic. You can like be moving tabs like you're you know? Um, and that is definitely how I would describe like when I look up and I'm trying to think about certain things, it's like I have different tabs of like when I mentioned me talking about the what that seventh grade teacher used to do, in my brain I'm actually picturing those little folders between us and me looking up as a child while sitting in that chair. And I didn't realize that like while I feel like I'm running on a 3D hologram, that some other people might hear that and they're like, girl, I'm stuck on Windows 98. And I it never dawned on me that when people felt like they were stuck on Windows 98, it wasn't them like choosing to run on Windows 98. And then sometimes, you meet somebody and they're the type of person where like they've got like those three screens set up and they're like running on Vista and you're like, "Okay." But then when I meet somebody else who's a hologram, oh my god, that's when the fun really kicks in. And the thing you got to understand is that I was raised by some holograms. My dad, to this day, likes to give me pop quizzes over like just random things. First of all, he liked to give me math pop quizzes, still does. Might be part of the reason why I enjoy math so much. But he also just likes to give random pop quizzes on other things. And you need to understand that my family is very sarcastic. And my family sent my sister and I to Catholic school our whole lives. Well, I continued through high school. My parents gave us the choice in high school to do Catholic or public. My sister chose public. I chose Catholic. Um, and my dad, I mean, even my mom was also a hologram, but my dad, when he likes to give me those pop quizzes, if I don't know the answer, I don't try and fake the answer if I don't have an educated guess. Like, if I don't know the answer, then I will simply say, I do not know. If I have an inkling of an answer, then I'll give it a whirl. But if I don't, then I will just tell you I don't know. So my dad, it's a running joke where I say it back to him. So where if I don't know an answer, I'm like, money well spent on the education. I do think it was money well spent overall, but that's just like that's an insight into how I grew up. Even my mom, so my mom passed away when I was 16, but she used to love to turn her crafts into like little side hobbies. And another thing that you need to understand is that my mom loved to shop. And so she actually used to like the Claire's and icing accessory stores. She would make deals with them where she could go like before the mall opened, go to the store, go through all of like their clearance and a bunch of stuff that they wanted to get rid of and buy it for pennies on the dollar. And then I would go set up at craft shows with her on the weekend and she would sell everything for like maybe $2 each or three for five, something like that. So it would just turn a very small profit. But let me tell you, we gave out the best gifts as kids because we had an entire gift closet full of anything you could ever want from Claire's and Icings. And do you have any idea how cool it was as a kid to like take a 2-hour road trip across the state at like 6 a.m. to end up at a mall before it's opened? And this was before, as a kid, you don't realize that the malls do open early for people to like do mall walking and stuff. But here I am thinking, oh my God, we're basically sneaking in. And I'm like 10 in a Claire's alone with my mom being like, you can buy anything you want because it's literally like 10 cents each. Yes, please. And these are the people that raised me. So that is what I viewed as normal. Like my home life, I didn't realize just how different and just how like mentally stimulating it was until you get to really know other people and you hear about their lives and like their downtime, and you become really close with folks and you learn how they think through problems. And all of a sudden you're like, hang on, was this not a normal type of conversation in your house? And in recent years, I finally accepted that my brain is a little different than others. And it's been really fun to properly use that. Because now, instead of me viewing it as, oh, well, Haley, you shouldn't say something because, of course, everybody sees it the way you do. Now I'm like, hold up. If I can view it in 3D and maybe some other people can only view it in 2D, why should I not utilize that? And I see it all the time with clients where I say something and they're like, huh, I never really thought about it from that angle. And meanwhile, that was like the first thing that popped into my head. But that's also because by the time I've acted on something, if you don't think that I have thought through so many different angles, like 5 years ago, Haley, she acted more impulsively. But today, Haley, no. Today, Haley, she's got a plan. She, even if you think it's something minor, she's got a plan and she's thought of multiple ways that it could go wrong. So she is prepared just in case. And I really enjoy using that. I really enjoy using my brain just for anything, which is also why the leaning into consulting is so much fun for me. Because I used to not consider thinking as work because it's fun for me. Like, I have a great time while I'm thinking. I am that weird kid where, like, yes, I gave myself extra math homework, but also the medium level hard of like math word problems. Yeah. That's why being a product manager was so much fun for me. I'm like, okay, cool. You want to give me this problem? Like, let's play. Speaking of the hologram brains, there was my mid-level boss did not get to interview me for my product manager position. Only my high-level boss did. And he only had a 30-minute phone call with me, not even a video call. And then he hired me. And at the time I was like, oh, well, this must just be an easy place to get a job. Then he took like 5 months of constant interviews to hire the next person on my team. And I was like, okay, Hale, maybe it was you. Maybe it wasn't, maybe it's not the company. And the company's wonderful. Would highly recommend. But my mid-level boss didn't get to interview me. And you could tell in that first meeting that he was a little wary, because he was like, okay, like, who's this chick that boss man hired after a 30-minute phone call? But then he's another hologram. And I could tell in that first meeting that he recognized it. And it got more fun. All of a sudden, every time that we met, it was like we were playing around, and like I could see him like visibly get excited, because it was like, you get to work through these word problems with somebody else who will actually like think it through with you. And he was like my dad he liked to give you pop quizzes. And the thing you need to know about me is that I will thrive on a pop quiz, especially the more you give them to me, the more that I'll be like, oh, I will learn from the past pop quiz. So the more you give them to me, the better I'll get. But That's my unfair advantage. And I enjoy using it. And this is me using it even more. And my question to you, since, it's my thing to end these videos with questions, since that is how I help go down the rabbit hole with clients for consulting. What is your superpower? And how are you going to use it? And even if you're thinking, Haley, I do not have a hologram, I'm still stuck on Windows 98 and I can't figure out what tab is playing music. First of all, I also have a tab that's trying to play music constantly, except the problem is that there are too many tabs up there and there are multiple songs. So you never know when I'm going to start singing. But even if it's not your brain, you've got some type of superpower. How are you going to use it? How are you going to use it to get what you want out of this life? And that is all for now. So have a great day.